we'd like to welcome you on behalf of Turkish National Committee on Illumination, and we are very happy to be with you on this special day. This is the 16th of May, International Day of Light, and we have very distinguished guests today, and we prepared a very different seminar for you, a webinar for you, because we will look to the topic of light, health, and circadian rhythm with our experts from different professions. We have a biologist, we have a neonatal and pediatric intensive care specialist, we have a psychiatrist, we have a neurosurgeon, and we have an application manager. So it will be a very fruitful event at the end. And we'd like to start with a short film which will underline or focus on the importance of International Day of Light. All right, and now I'd like to ask and I'd like to give floor to Professor Dr. Sermin Onaygil, President of Turkish National Committee on Illumination.
Thank you, Banu. Dear distinguished guests, on behalf of Management Board of the Turkish National Committee on Illumination, I would like to welcome you all to our webinar specially organized by International Light Day. Banu said, of course, everybody knows that today is May 16, Day of Light. In 2018, UNESCO decided to celebrate this day as the Day of Light every year in order to draw attention to the role and importance of light in our lives. International Committee on Illumination, we call it a CIE, of which we have been trying to be an active member for 27 years, makes important contributions by taking part in the steering committee of this organization. Since then, as one of the official representatives of Turkey, we as Turkish National Committee on Illumination is in an effort to organize activities in the Light Day events, where the participation from different disciplines related to the science of light has increased worldwide. Yes, light is an important branch of of science, a constantly developing technology and an indispensable element of nature and culture, a tool of use. In short, light is at the center of our lives. We have been experiencing significant changes and developments since the beginning of the 2000s in lighting, which is one of the most important areas to use of light technology. This concept of energy efficient light, light for sustainability and light for well-being took place in our research and practices, following as well as affecting each other. Nowadays, design of lighting systems that improve the effect of light on living things together with increasing efficiency and comfort with the developing LED technologies and digitalization possibilities are our hot research topics. We believe that the webinar entitled Light, Health, and Circadian Rhythm, which we organize in English in order to ensure international participation and discussion. Will make a significant contribution to our research with the very valuable information of our experts from different disciplines. We would like such environments to provide an opportunity for our researchers from different disciplines to take part in CIE studies. On behalf of all of you, I would like to take this chance to thank our distinguished speakers who devoted their valuable time and make the necessary preparations and to contribute to this webinar with great wishing. I would also like to thank my dear colleagues for their efforts in the preparation of the event, and I wish a productive and successful webinar. And now, leave the word to our moderator, Banu. Banu, is floors of yours. Thank you. Have a nice webinar.
Thank you, Sermin Hocam. And now we will start with our first distinguished invited speaker. I will ask Professor Dr. Bülent Gündüz to make his speech titled Light and Rhythm in Animal Life, Flora and Fauna. But before giving floor to you, I'd like to tell a little bit about your very nice CV. I'd like to introduce you. After graduating from the Department of Biology, Faculty of Science in Istanbul University, Professor Dr. Bülent Gündüz completed Master and PhD at the University of Delaware. He has been working at Çanakkale 18 Mart University today at the Department of Biology. He has been researching circadian rhythms, especially in photoperiodic animals, subjects such as maternal transfer, rhythmic effects, and pineal gland on metabolism and obesity constitutes. Yes, now the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me upload my talk. Okay, is that visible?
Evet, sorun yok hocam.
Okay. Thank you for your nice introduction. I greet everyone with my respect. Actually, my talk is on the light and rhythm in animal life, flora and fauna. The effect of light in the living world varies from species to species. Therefore, I will at least try to deal with the light and its biological effect in certain taxa in my talk. So also it is important for me to raise some question in your mind during my talk. Actually, my speech may seem a bit tiring and boring, but when we talk about human and human living oriented lighting, we need to carefully examine and understand all living beings that are responsive to the light on the earth. Okay, let me start my talk with the first slide. Now, according to the information gathered from the United Nations, actually more than 50 to 60% of the human population now lives in the cities. In addition, urban areas are one of the fastest growing types of land cover, and natural and agricultural landscapes have been replaced by artificial buildings, infrastructures, and anthropogenic stimuli, such as the light and the noise. Therefore, today, the artificial light at night, which is an abbreviation of the ALAN, often has unexpected impacts on the environment. It has a significant impact beyond human perception, For example, direction of light is used by many organisms as information for finding the food, foraging, finding the spawning site for reproduction, or communication. The increasing use of ALAN with the high intensities in the blue part of the spectrum, for example, the fluorescent light and the LED light, is discussed as a critical trend. So the blue light is a major circadian signal in higher vertebrates and can substantially impact the orientation of the organisms, such as many insect species in the world. So the light allows us distance spaces of the world and the light. And the light is energy, actually, by itself, and light is life. So the human differ from animals in being able to overcome the rhythms of natural light. Today, light is not only used for perceiving a visual information, but also to deliver data around the globe. So the use of ALAN yearly increased by about 60% almost. So we are only starting to understand its impact on the biosphere now. So the all life on Earth has evolved to live in cycles of light and dark, light and dark. So responses to ALAN are subdivided into the effects of light intensity, the color spectra, and the duration and timing of illumination. So my talk will address both the perception of light by different organisms and the impact of ALAN on flora and the fauna. So many organisms see the world in different light than the humans do. Light, which is visible to human eyes, represent only a small part of the full spectrum of the biological relevant radiation. So in addition, most animals have developed distinct sensory mechanisms to detect the wavelength. For example, the human vision has evolved according to the surviving needs for diurnal activity and is thus specialized on daylight vision, but limited in perceiving low light vision cues, which are important, especially for the nocturnal organism or those inhabiting in the caves, for example. So in the case of the light intensity, a moonless night is about 100 million times darker than a day with bright sunshine. So the nocturnal organism, approximately 30% of all vertebrates and 60% of all invertebrates, evolved highly developed senses to be active during the low light conditions. One of the greatest challenges for low light vision is to absorb sufficient photons to reliably discriminate the colors. For this reason, the animals develop such a tissue layer like tapetum lucidum. This is a tissue layer immediately behind the retina in the eyes of many nocturnal vertebrates. This contributes to the superior night vision. If my pointer appears, I'm trying to show it here. The B portion of the eye is the tapetum lucidum. So it reflects the light back through the retina and increases the photon absorption. At the right side of the screen, you can see the differences in eye forms in mammals and the bird, according to the light perception. In the case of the color spectra, in invertebrates, the photoreceptive cells directly sensitive to the light are classified as rods and cones. The long rods function mainly in dim light. This is less than 0.001 CD and provides color blind vision in most vertebrates. The shorter cones support vision in light intensities that are stronger than 3 CD and allow color perception. So the wavelengths corresponding to visible light for human perception range from about 390 to 700 nanometer. Therefore, the UV light, which has shorter wavelengths, cannot be perceived by most humans. So infrared radiation, for example, can only be perceived as warmth, not the light. Detection of the UV spectrum is essential for most birds, insects, amphibians, and some fish and bat species, because this sense can be useful for orientation, foraging, sexual attraction. So it plays a critical role for pollinators, for example, to find the flowers and for birds finding the fruits. Therefore, the ban of the UV emitting outer lighting is necessary and timely step towards protection. In the case of the direction of the light, the information of the direction of light is used by many organisms as a visual cue, in addition to discriminate brightness and color. In nature, light tends to partially linearly polarized, and those delivers information for orientation and navigation. For example, at the right portion of the screen at the top, you can see the dung beetles. These species orient on polarized moonlight to avoid competition in the same area with other species. Also, linear polarization of clear skylight is used as a sun compass for navigation for the desert ant, for example. And also underwater organisms, again, use the sun elevation to coordinate the migration at sunset and at the sunrise. Here, the picture shows the artificial polarization. It is a kind of very risky for population living around that area. Here, these are the industry-produced horizontally polarizing, and there are many shiny surfaces. In the first picture, as you see, this is the strawberry production. In this field, people cover the plants with the black plastic sheets. So this is not good for the surrounding environment where the organisms live there. At the second right top picture, you can see the waste oil lakes in different areas. Also, they shine the light very much. At the top, also the asphalt roads are extremely important to polarization of the natural light. In the case of the receptor for the light, in organisms, opsins are responsible for mediating the conversion of the photon of light into an electrochemical signals. For example, photopsin is found in the cone cells of the retina that are the base of the color vision. Rhodopsin is found in the rod photoreceptors. It is enabling vision in very low light condition with color without the color discrimination. Another receptors, cryptochromes. These are blue light sensing photoreceptors found throughout the bacteria, as well as in plants, animals, and humans. These flavoproteins are involved in the circadian rhythm and development of the plants and animals in some species in the sensing of the magnetic fields, especially. The best known photoreceptors of the plants, fungi and bacteria are the phytochromes. Those are mainly sensitive to red and far red light. Also in microbial system, photochrome sensitivity extends in yellow, green, blue and violet portion of the spectrum. Another pigments are carotenoids. These are responsible for reception of the photoperiodic responses in vertebrates, such as the induction of the seasonal metabolic reaction and also or migration. Another pigment seen is melanopsin. This is involved in circadian rhythm, signaling processes, and pupillary reflex in retinal ganglion cell in the eye of the human and other vertebrates. The circadian rhythm signaling is mediated over the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Here, for my pointer here. Okay, this is the brain. This is the frontal portion of the brain. This is the occipital portion, and here the yellow structure. The green spot is the suprachiasmatic nucleus. You can see where it is located. It receives the light information from the eyes directly through the action potential. And then the suprachiasmatic nucleus sends the information to the pineal gland. The pineal gland produces the melatonin. This is important for the synchronization of the rhythm. And also the pupil dilation reflex protects the retinal photoreceptors from damaging by extreme light intensities. In the case of the responses to light are multi-phased and highly species dependent. Perhaps the most basic question for a biologist to be asked: was there a time measurement system even in the most primitive living things? That is, do they respond to light? The answer is yes. We can say that even in evolutionary primitive living things, there was a response to light. LD cycle, which is light and dark cycle, is absolutely crucial for photosynthetic organisms. The circadian rhythms for eukaryotes, for example, Euglena, and for prokaryotes, such as cyanobacteria, we can find and observe the circadian rhythm. So the cues for the rhythmic phenomena of that is the photosynthesis in the daytime and nitrogen fixation at the night time. There are some other cues to be observed for the rhythmicity in these organisms. Those are the DNA replication and cell division, which occur during the night. Also, some of the events of the cell division cycle in these microorganisms might be sensitive to the sunlight. Photosynthetic algae reveal details of evolution of circadian clock in plants. Algae are very sensitive to the UV light near the sunset and into the early night. Here at the picture, we can see the sun early night. Here you can see the rhythm, and then at the sunset you can see very increased activity. So this is seen in the algae, very nice daily rhythm. Since the biodiversity is so great, we can summarize the effect of the light and Alan on living things by summarizing some basic taxonomies. I'm going to just briefly mention some of them. Responses to light, starting with the plants. So the first demonstration that organisms sense the changing season by measuring the duration of the light and dark was in plants, where the seasonal flowering of plants was shown to be controlled by photoperiod at the time in 1920s, long time ago. The wavelengths of the UV radiation lies in the range of the 100 to 400 nanometers. So UV light also further subdivided into UVA, UVB, and UVC lightning. So the region between 400 to 700 nanometer is used by plants to derive the photosynthesis. Receptors include photochrome and also cryptochrome. The light intensity, the effects of Allen on trees is highly species specific. Street light was also found to alter the vegetation growth of the crops. Another term is sky glow. We have to explain that it doesn't have too much effect, but we have to talk about the sky glow. That is the diffuse luminance of the night sky. Apart from the discrete light sources such as the moon and stars, the sky glow can lead to nighttime brightness up to the 1,000-fold above the experience by the organism during the evolutionary history. Although the intensity of the sky glow is small compared to direct street light, it extends over vastly larger areas. So far, there are no much studies the effects of sky glow on the organisms. In the case of the color spectra, plants respond to wavelengths differently. Certain spectra regulate photosynthesis, morphology, phototropism, volatile organic compounds, emission, and synthesis of secondary metabolite, leaf thickness or quantity of cuticle wax. The UVB and UVA spectrum are especially critical for the plants. So these are the range of the color spectra. They use the far red light, orange light, green light, and blue light. Each of them can give different effects on the production of the biomass of the plant. For example, far red light increases the total biomass. Red light benefits for reproductive growth and also increases the synthesis of the vitamin C. Green light promotes the growth, also increases the synthesis of the vitamin C, repair the heal. And the blue light is important because blue light benefits vegetative growth. And blue light increases the pigment concentration in plant, also increases the concentration of vitamin C. And blue light produces some type leaves. So the ratio is important when we use the combination, when we think the combination of those spectra. The ratio of the red to blue light is an important factor in commercial LED applications. Mixing the red and the blue light has generally been shown to increase the yield and biomass in experiments without the solar light. But the exact effect is less known. What amount of the ratio could be combined to give a best effect. In the case of timing and duration of illumination, long day plants induce flower buds when the days are longer than their critical days. In northern latitudes, these plants flower in summer. Short day plants induce flowering when the days are shorter than their critical day lengths. They flower in spring and fall in northern hemisphere. The photoperiod is also critical determinant of the oxidative stress response in shorter days. The defense genes and oxidative stress response transcription increase. There are 4 different lighting types, like high pressure sodium and LED fixtures, ceramic metal halide, and T5 fixtures. Supplemental blue light, LED light, also stimulates the antioxidant status in green vegetables. So it increases the vitamin C production and carotenoid content. Green light has also some valuable physiological effect. In the case of the responses to light in arthropods, the arthropods use visual cues to orient, navigate, and avoid predators or locate host plants, prey, and mates. As many insects are attracted to light, Alan functions like a vacuum cleaner. Nocturnal insects have highly sensitive visual system. Some display superposition compound eyes that are 100 or 100 times more sensitive compared to the ones of the diurnal insects. Also, nighttime pollination is important. So the pollination normally occurs in a very low, at very low light intensity, such as low as 0.0001 CDs. The color spectrum, most insects have 3 different receptor types, one being sensitive to UV light with a peak sensitivity around 350 nanometer, another to blue light at 440, and a third green light around 550 nanometers. The street light type attracting the most insects is the white and UV light emitting mercury vapor light. It draws 7 times as many insects as comparable to the LED lights. The timing of duration of illumination. In arthropods, like in plants, the photoperiod often acts in concert with the other physical and biological background information, such as the temperature, moisture, humidity, and cues from the food. So these responses are often triggered by the hormone melatonin. Diapause is important, and Alan can inhibit diapause in this species. In the case of the fish and amphibians, the most amphibian species are nocturnal, and many are endangered by anthropogenic stress. Artificial light is used worldwide in fisheries to attract the fish and other marine food. Several fish species behavior, including the hatching process, is light dependent. The Alan has a great potential to interfere with the circadian behavior of the aquatic organisms. In the case of the light intensity, the physiological and behavioral responses of many fish can be triggered at a very low light level, which is below 1 lux. Alan at 1 lux can delay the dispersal timing of Atlantic salmon fry by up to 2 days. Street light and especially illumination of bridges might potentially interfere with migratory behavior of certain fish, so resulting in excessive use of energy, which in turn can result in reduced migratory success. Also, in caged Atlantic salmon, the swimming depth could be adjusted by artificial lighting. Now, it was shown that nocturnal suppression of melatonin and suppressed gene expression of the gonadotropins in, for example, European perch occurred at 1 lux. In the case of the color spectra, the frogs typically exhibit phototaxis and move toward blue light and at intensities higher than ambient illumination. In species which change their habitat depending on their size, the vision perception can change with their developmental stage. All colors suppress melatonin production in perch in the experiment. Timing and duration of illumination. Fish species are either more active in light, less active in darkness, or vice versa. A photoperiod synchronizes locomotor activity rhythm and food intake. Photoperiod affects reproduction in fish. It is considered the most important environmental cue for breeding seasonality and maturation. So these are external fertilizers. So external fertilization is frequent among these animals. Its synchronization with reliable environmental cycle maximizes the probability that the eggs and the sperm encounter. So in natural environment, alien might cause similar effects or problems such as disturbance of synchronicity, hatching, and reducing survival changes. Okay, the case of the birds and reptiles. Briefly, the highest sensitivity for light in bird is measured in the oil bird. So with 1 million rods per millimeter square, and oil bird exceeds any counted rod density in vertebrates. For the brown falcon, on the other hand, holds the record of cone density in vertebrates with 380,000 cones. The pectin in these animals, in bird's eyes, reduce the number of blood vessels in retina. So this leads to the sharpened vision. The birds and reptiles also perceive light even in the absence of the photoreceptors, but how they use this ability to sense the light. It was found the abscess at the skin of the belly of the, for example, Moorish gecko, which perceive ambient color and initiate camouflage color changing of the skin without input of via the eye. The artificial light might interfere with these highly specific, species-specific developed senses, which are not yet fully understood. The extension of the daylight in birds due to the alien is today well known. The example is singing at dawn. Male birds start singing at dawn when stimulation by increasing light intensities has reached a certain threshold level. This threshold varies among species, leading to species-specific timing of dawn song. Strict lighting affects the timing of dawn song. The strongest in species that under natural conditions start singing early. Another interesting observation is the oil droplets in the bird's eye. The oil droplet in cones of most reptile bird species contain brightly colored oil droplets that filter and transmit light to a visual pigment. This feature allows bird to identify a wide variety of colors and wavelengths, and many of which are not visible to the eye of the mammals. Alien inhibits the melatonin even at low light levels. Also, the seasonal period is extended by alien. For example, when urban blackbirds develop a functional reproductive system 19 days in advance of their counterparts. The alien affect the timing of egg laying and advances of gonadal growth and testosterone production by up to 1 month. The peak migratory periods are in spring and autumn. So it's reasonable to timing to turn off the lights for migratory birds after midnight. Another example is the Japanese quail, which we have done some experiment on this species. The Japanese quails exposed to red light reached to sexual maturity 2 weeks earlier than those exposed to sunlight, blue light, or green light. Red light diminishes cannibalism, blue light has a calming effect. Also, UVB light helps iguanas produce vitamin D which help to metabolize the calcium. So street and security lights can be more than 1 million times brighter than the natural ambient illumination. So we can see how big effect on the birds. Another topic is the broilers. The broilers is used in different under different color spectra. Studies have shown the effects of LEDs, because the LEDs are most common nowadays, on the performance and physiological and metabolic parameters of broilers and laying hens. Recently, the use of the emitting diode lamps has been introduced into the poultry system. In a study, for example, at 8 weeks, green LED and fluorescent lamps promoted better bone development, while at 12 weeks, white LED promoted better development. Okay, we came to the responses to light in mammals. Most mammals have nocturnal, crepuscular, or arrhythmic activity patterns. Exceptions are some rodents, squirrels, and humans, which are predominantly diurnal and have adapted their visual sense to the daylight. In the case of the light intensity, what happens when exposed, these animals exposed to brighter light? Most nocturnal mammals have few coats. These can easily become saturated by light intensities about 100 CBs. And animals become temporarily blinded by brighter light exposure because of this. The suppression of melatonin in mammals can be affected at very low light levels, and sensitivity are highly species dependent. In general, nocturnal activities, active species are rated as more sensitive to alien in terms of the melatonin inhibition. The circadian response to light is triggered by blue light. Wavelengths around 418 nanometer are the most effective one. The circadian signal is not related to visual sensitivity, but perceived by melanopsin photoreceptors. Reproduction of the mammals living in temperate regions follows seasonality to ensure the birth of offspring in summer and spring and summer. Species with a short incubation or gestation period, such as hamsters, are long day breeders, and their fertile period occurs in the springtime. But on the other hand, species with a gestation period around 5 to 6 months, such as sheep and goats, are short day breeders, and their breeding takes place in autumn. So the pineal gland through melatonin is the common link between the photoperiod and the reproduction. So importantly, the reproductive state is not determined by the absolute daylight, but the direction of the change. In different studies on mammals, there is a convincing evidence that the extended light exposure causes weight gain, for example, even when the calories intake and physical activities are held constant. Melatonin also acts on the immune system as a stimulant. Okay, my talk about around the taxons has just finished here, but some of you may ask a question about the terms of the biological clocks, about the master clock. So I'm going to leave those information to the speakers after me. But in the case of the picture here showing that if you ask where is the master clock is in the hypothalamus, and in mammals the master clock is the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And every organ or tissue has a peripheral circadian clock or biological clock in our body. Okay, I'm just gonna mention about the Nobel Prize. In 2017, a group of researchers won a Nobel Prize about the molecular mechanism of the circadian clock, which is the suprachiasmatic nucleus. They identify how the neurons and also the responsive genes respond to the light and dark in a daily basis in the Drosophila and in the mice. So they won this type of this Nobel Prize on these studies. And of course, I didn't win the Nobel Prize 10 years ago because a group of people in here, we also released a paper about the origin of the life processes. In that paper, I explained the primitive biological clock, actually the oscillations, how the oscillation at that primitive times happened through the cycle of the day. Actually, the day at that time is not 24-hour day, but lesser, like 12 or 16 hours a day. So as a conclusion, I can read those conclusions, but we know that the extra and inopportune light emission is rarely neutral and can have serious ecological and evolutionary implications for many organisms, from bacteria to mammals, and reshape entire ecosystem. Actually, the biological impact of ALAN provides strong evidence that ALAN can be considered as one major stressor for organisms, similar to noise, soil, water, and air pollution. Lastly, this is a picture from the city I live. This is taken from my friend, saying that this is not the Manhattan, but the Çanakkale. It's a perfect view. Actually, this is from my view. This is a kind of great pollution. And lastly, this is the last word for me. Darkness is a natural right for every living thing in the universe. You cannot ignore this right with wrong lighting. I am so sorry I extended my time because I had many things to talk about the taxons. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you very much.
We'd like to thank you also for this very detailed and informative study and presentation. Well, actually, I think it's nice because we started with the importance of artificial lighting at night, which is ALAN, and its effect on lights, on the rhythms in animals' life, all flora and fauna, because it is the starting point of life. And now we will continue with Professor Dr. Soyhan Bağcı from that point, continuing it with the starting of life in humans. But before that, I'd like to give a little bit information about Soyhan Bağcı. He is a neonatal and pediatric intensive care specialist, clinical studies and laboratory specialist at Bonn University. In 1997, he started his specialization training in Uludağ University, Faculty of Medicine, Child Health and Diseases. Since 2015, he has been researching circadian rhythm and biodynamic lighting strategies and health. Professor Dr. Soyhan Bağcı is one of the world's leading Turkish researchers in this field, and we are happy that we are again together with you. Now the floor is yours with your talk entitled Circadian Rhythm and the Start of Life.
Thank you very much, Banu. Can you be here? Okay. Banu, can you be here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you very much for this nice introduction, and thank you very much, Bülent Hocam, about detailed information about circadian rhythm. And I will today talk about more about circadian rhythm in the fetal life and in pregnant women, and it is my research field.
In mammals, circadian rhythms are regulated by a circadian timing system, being synchronized to the environmental light-dark cycle by ocular light detected by the retina. The suprachiasmatic nucleus regulates the pineal gland, that is a central structure of the circadian timing system and major source of melatonin. Melatonin is a neuroendocrine hormone secreted in circadian manner with high levels occurring in all species at the night and regulates biological rhythms. Synthesis and secretion of melatonin increases shortly after the beginning of darkness, with maximal levels observed usually during the middle of the night, and decreases gradually to the basal daytime levels during the second half of the night. This circadian fluctuation of melatonin is essential for maintaining the normal circadian time organization. A large number of physiological functions in humans are organized as circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms enable organisms to anticipate and respond to periodic change in the environment and are consequently important for molecular, physiological, and psychological processes such as gain expression, body temperature, heart rate regulation, and hormone production, as well as sleep, mood, and higher cognitive functions. Pregnancy is a normal physiological process that requires the synchronized adjustment of multiple organ systems. During pregnancy, maternal physiology changes to fulfill the increasing metabolic demands of the fetus, provide food and care for the baby. As a result, the cardiorespiratory system, immune system, renal, hepatic, gastrointestinal functions, and endocrine system differ from that of non-pregnant women. Naturally, the circadian system of pregnant women is not an exception. There is more evidence that a functional reorganization of the circadian system occurs along gestation in several species. It is well known that several physiological processes during pregnancy, including body temperature, blood pressure, uterine contraction, blood flow, glucose availability, hormone levels, are synchronized in the 24-hour periodicity by the ambient day-night cycle. There is a clear evidence supporting the role of melatonin in human pregnancy, and it appears that melatonin is essential for a successful pregnancy. These rhythmic activities are important not only for pregnant women, but also for the normal development of their babies. Interestingly, it was believed until last year that a fetus stays in darkness during its fetal life. But it is not correct. A fetus experiences everything which his mother can experience during pregnancy. I can hear your question. How? First, I would like to demonstrate here two interesting studies. Tamura Cole showed that the nighttime serum concentration of melatonin shows an incremental change toward the end of pregnancy. Especially, nighttime serum melatonin levels in pregnant women were significantly higher than the values of non-pregnant women, gradually increasing after 24 weeks of gestation and exhibiting significantly higher levels after 22 weeks of gestation. Thereafter, they declined to non-pregnant levels on the second day of after delivery. Melatonin is a small lipid and water-soluble molecule that easily crosses membrane barriers. Okatani et college could demonstrate that melatonin is rapidly transferred from maternal blood to fetal circulation. That means that a fetus has similar melatonin concentration such as its mother. So, melatonin permits the transmission of maternal photoperiodic information to generate day-night difference in the fetus and circadian organization during development, which is essential for the maturation of the fetal biological clock. The fetal pineal gland may actively secrete melatonin, however, not as a periodic rhythm. Therefore, maternal melatonin transfer is very important to entrain the information from extrauterine life. Preclinical and clinical data show that human fetus exhibit circadian rhythms in several physiological functions such as gross body movements, heart rate, breathing, sleep-wake cycle, and synthesis of hormones such as cortisol. Now, I would like to show an interesting scene of the fetal life. Contrary to what is known, that milk is not our first feed. An embryo starts swallowing amniotic fluid as early as the 10th week of gestation. That means the first fluid to enter our gastrointestinal system is amniotic fluid. Recently, we could, at the first time, demonstrate that our gastrointestinal system is exposed very high concentration of melatonin due to amniotic fluid. It is important to realize that during gestation, the fetus follows a strict program that allows development and a successful transition to the extrauterine life, to which maternal circadian signals play a key role not only in the precise daily delivery of oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and biophysical signals, but also allowing the coordination of the fetus with the external photoperiod. When the circadian signals from the mother to the fetus are interrupted or altered, the synchronization between the fetus and its mother disappear, and detrimental effects are observed in fetal growth, in the fetal development, and postnatal physiology. It may cause the disease in adult life such as hypertension, obesity, insulin intolerance, that means the diabetes mellitus, and kidney disease. It is clear that the effects of light on circadian rhythms depends on the length of the day, duration of exposure to daylight, and timing of exposure to artificial light. During the daytime, outdoor light intensities can be as great as 100,000 lux in direct sunlight and usually 25,000 lux in full daylight. However, light intensity in closed rooms with artificial lighting is considerably less, only 200 to 300 lux. On the other hand, the color temperature of natural illumination change during the day, from sunrise to 1000 Kelvin, early morning 3000 Kelvin, late morning 4000 Kelvin, noon 6600 Kelvin, early afternoon again 4000 Kelvin, and late afternoon 3000 Kelvin to sunset 2000 Kelvin. Compared to the color characteristic of natural daylight, the range of exposed color temperature in closed rooms are within a very narrow spectrum, resulting in the absence of many spectral components of natural daylight. Why is it important? Approximately 20% of pregnant women are recommended bed rest during pregnancy to improve maternal fetal health outcomes for high-risk pregnancies. Although a pregnant woman in her everyday life will be exposed higher illuminance, broad light temperature, and a light-dark cycle, these high-risk pregnant women especially hospitalized pregnant women, spend most of their time indoors, resulting in a daily decrease in natural outdoor light exposure, which means lower illuminance, narrow light temperature, and light pollution due to artificial indoor light. It is known that not only more light at night, but also less light exposure during the daytime negatively impact circadian physiology. These situations cause a chronodisruption in pregnant women, and chronodisruption may be a risk factor for preterm birth. It is the main question whether everybody should take a melatonin tablet to optimize all things in their body. It is not so easy. The pineal gland is not alone in melatonin production in our body. The other organs, such as gut mucosa, airway, liver, kidney, thyroid, placenta, thymus, retina, and cells such as leukocytes, sperm, also produce melatonin in circadian rhythmicity, and this production is also regulated by dark light cycle. We cannot imitate this production with a melatonin tablet. As you can imagine, for normal and healthy physiological functions, we need a circadian light exposure. But it is our reality. In our time, the architecture of many old, perhaps also new, buildings were not designed for the specific needs of healthy people during the day. Therefore, it is not expected for an individual living in such buildings not to be exposed to enough illuminance and changing spectrums of daylight during the day. Second problem is that artificial lighting systems have only been installed to meet the needs of human visual system, not the circadian system. Such as expected, spending a great part of the day in dim light conditions, for example, only indoors, might have detrimental effects. Recently, we evaluated the environmental lighting condition in high-risk pregnant women admitted to hospital for long-term stay. About 30 patients were included in the study. Exposed illuminance, color temperature, and effective circadian radiation dose were measured and recorded every 10 seconds by light dosimeters. Illuminance below the recommended EU standard of 100 lux occurred for 60% of the mornings and 42% of the afternoons of the total inpatient days assessed. Women with only indoor lighting conditions had a significantly lower illuminance compared to women with outdoor mobility. These women rarely achieved an illuminance more than 300 lux in the morning and afternoon. By contrast, women with outdoor mobility on sunny days had an illuminance. In our other randomized prospective plot study, we evaluated the effect of environmental lighting conditions on melatonin production in pregnant women with reduced mobility during hospitalization. We hypothesized that altered lighting conditions such as inadequate daylight exposure or constant environmental lighting may affect nocturnal melatonin production in pregnant women during their stay in hospital. We tested our hypothesis using a human-centric lighting system with biodynamic effects in the patient rooms. Our study could demonstrate that at least 3 days of bed rest in the hospital dramatically reduced illuminance both in the morning and afternoon for pregnant women, resulting in a decreased melatonin production at the night. The installation of human-centric lighting system with biodynamic lighting effects provides higher luminance and effective circadian irradiation with a significant daily rhythm, which helps maintain nocturnal melatonin production in pregnant women. Our study presented the first information about the effect of dramatically altered environmental lighting conditions and the use of biodynamic lighting system on nocturnal melatonin production in high-risk pregnant women during their stay in hospital. Or another problem is the lighting conditions of preterm and term newborn infants in neonatal intensive care units after birth. You can here see some examples from different NICUs. For example, low illuminance, no windows with only artificial lighting systems, or low natural lighting conditions with artificial lighting exposure. In our PLAT study, we analyzed the median light exposure of preterm and term newborn infants in our NICUs. Our study demonstrated that the median light exposure of preterm and term newborn infants in the NICUs has reached the recommended minimum of 200 lux in NICUs, neither in the morning nor in the afternoon. Moreover, we analyzed the portable lighting system in 4 NICUs in Germany, and the analysis showed that the luminance of 7 different portable lighting systems used in NICUs varies minimum from 700 to 6,000 lux and maximum from 3,700 to 25,000 lux. These values are very, very high for a preterm newborn infants, also for a term newborn infants at the night. Why is it important? It should be noted that the production and secretion of growth hormone, especially in children, is synchronized with melatonin production and secretion. That means if the melatonin levels is decreased and decrease the production and secretion of growth hormone. It is especially important for children's room and at the night. The artificial lighting system in children's rooms in such form is not healthy for development and growth of children. Another point is the artificial lighting system in at home for mothers. Our other study showed that human milk has in circadian melatonin levels. That means human milk has high melatonin concentration at the night, which is very, very important for normal development of infants. Here in last seconds of my presentation, I want to show some bad examples of artificial lighting system in hospital and intensive care units. You can here see that the rooms in the hospital or intensive care units without windows, only artificial lighting system, and here such as the blue lighting system and green lighting system, blue without any meaning, and there is not correct installation for patients in intensive care units. And last presentation is here sample biodynamic lighting system in our hospital. It is my project, and our new
maternal and neonatal children hospital has actually biodynamic lighting system, human-centric lighting system with biodynamic lighting condition. You can see that lighting system change the intensity and color temperature according to time of day. It is actually the morning time and no afternoon. I can demonstrate. Sorry, I can't demonstrate it again. It is first clinic in the world with such human-centric lighting system, or oncology clinic and on cardiovascular intensive care units and neonatal intensive care units have such biodynamic lighting system and conditions. It is late afternoon time conditions with about 3100 Kelvin. So, thank you for your attention, and I'm open for questions.
Okay, thank you for this wonderful presentation. Well, each time we invite you, we learn new ideas, perspectives this time, and new research from medicine. Thanks a lot. And today, I think one of the important marks to myself is thinking about pregnancy also, even the feeding of the newborn babies, not only the amount of light or the dose, but also all of the things that and how we can affect the next generation, not only the newly born. So I think we will open this with question session. Now I'd like to introduce you our third distinguished guest, Dr. Nasibe Ünsalan, who is a psychiatrist, and she received her medical degree from Trakya University and completed her residency in adult psychiatry at Maltepe University. Between 2015 and 2017, she participated in a TÜBİTAK research project and to analyze the effects of biodynamic lighting on humans. And I know that she is a researcher in another TÜBİTAK project. So her ideas, her views, and her research are always novel. And of course, we're very happy to welcome you here today. And now the floor is yours with your speech entitled, "How does light affect human from a psychiatric perspective?"
Thank you so much. First of all, today I will provide you with an insight on circadian rhythm from a psychiatric point of view. Light has impact on one of the most important mechanisms in our body, our biological clock. You heard of this internal biological clock before, under the name of the circadian rhythm. The National Institute for General Medical Sciences defines circadian rhythm as a daily cycle of physical, mental, and behavioral changes. These changes primarily depend on light and darkness in an organism's environment. There are both direct and indirect connections between light and mood. We use 3 types of photoreceptors to detect light. The commonly known ones are rods and cones, and they form our vision. The third type is called intrinsically photoreceptive retinal ganglion cells, also called IPRGCs. The retinal cells control the production of monoamines, such as serotonin, dopamine, and melatonin. These are the most important neurotransmitters in the treatment of depression. Disruption of these neurotransmitters may lead to a depressed mood. Seasonal affective disorder is a type of depression that originates from this disruption. The common symptoms of seasonal affective disorder include sadness and loss of interest in usual activities. Depending on the onset of symptoms, SAD is divided into two categories: fall-winter and spring-summer. Unlike other types of depression, SAD is triggered by the amount of sunlight over different seasons. As you know, our body uses sunlight to adjust its internal clock, also referred to as the circadian rhythm. Low and high illumination levels during winter or summer may disrupt the body clock. This may cause alteration in the production of certain neurotransmitters. These are melatonin and serotonin, and they have a major effect on our mood. In people with fall-winter SAD, higher melatonin levels are observed due to the lack of sunlight. The high melatonin levels are related with excessive sleepiness in patients. Conversely, the serotonin levels were lower than normal. This may be linked to feelings of depression, like decrease in social activity and lack of energy. An inverse pattern is observed in patients presenting spring and summer seasonal affective disorder. High illumination levels showed a correlation with high serotonin and low melatonin levels. These levels might explain symptoms like insomnia and restlessness. These findings suggest that illuminance-dependent neurotransmitter production and circadian rhythm might be the key of explaining the symptoms. A study from Japan is a case in point. 863 older adults were exposed to light in their bedrooms for several years. The results showed a direct correlation between illuminance in the bedroom and the risk of depression. People slept in pitch darkness had this lower risk. Another interesting finding was how little light was sufficient to cause the shift. The cutoff was only 5 lux, which is equivalent to a night light. Those who slept with at least 5 lux had doubled the risk of depression. The presence of light also leads to other disorders, such as circadian rhythm sleep disorders. The underlying problem in circadian rhythm sleep disorders originates from the shift in circadian rhythm. Patients with circadian rhythm sleep disorders are not able to sleep at the desired time. In addition, wake episodes can occur at undesired times because of improper sleep schedule. These conditions lead to physiological consequences such as sleep loss, insomnia, and excessive sleepiness. These might be detrimental to social life. The negative psychological outcomes include depression, impaired work performance, disrupted social schedules, and stressed relationships. Circadian rhythm sleep disorders are analyzed in 6 categories. In this diagram, a circadian rhythm with conventional sleep schedule is given. The curved white arrow represents the sleep. In delayed sleep phase type, sleep and wake types are delayed compared to normal individuals. This may lead to poor performance and even falling asleep at work due to daytime sleepiness. Advanced sleep phase type can be thought as the opposite of delayed sleep phase type. In this type, sleep and wake times are advanced compared to normal individuals. The sleep-wake pattern shifts to an earlier time than conventional sleep pattern. In irregular sleep-wake type, an unrecognizable pattern is observed. The sleep schedule is disorganized. The type is mostly seen in patients with neurodegenerative disorder, such as Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, or Huntington's disease. This indicates that a permanent damage to suprachiasmatic nucleus might be present, unlike a reversible shift in circadian rhythm. Free-running type has a gradual delay to sleep onset time, from one day to the next. A circadian rhythm extended over 24 hours causes sleep to begin in the daytime hours. Then it drifts back into the night and to the day again. For this reason, it's also known as non-24-hour sleep-wake disorder. It's seen in more than half of totally blind people. A smaller number of sighted individuals are affected as well. Jet lag type is caused by recent travel to a new time zone. On average, traveling through 2 or more times causes problems. The severity of jet lag increases with the number of time zones that are crossed. Interestingly, eastbound travel tends to produce more severe jet lag than westbound travel. Mania is more common with west to east travel, and depression is more likely when traveling to west. Many individuals follow the evening chronotype due to their working hours. The evening chronotype consists of high activity at night and low activity during the day. This is the opposite of the conventional morning type. When individuals with evening chronotype can't fall asleep during the day or remain awake during the night, shift work type occurs. Night shift workers have shorter sleep durations on average than other shift workers. This is because they are attempting to sleep at a biologically unsuitable time. The circadian system of the night shift workers doesn't adjust to the work schedule. This leads to drowsiness during night work and difficulty sleeping during the day. Hence, is associated with an increased risk of occupational and vehicle accidents, especially on the way home from work. According to meta-analysis, chronic shift work increases the risk of depression, anxiety disorders, and chronic fatigue. Another study confirms these findings. The evening chronotype is prominent in adolescents and is deduced to be a risk factor for bipolar disorder, depression, and substance abuse. There are several treatment modalities, especially for circadian rhythm sleep disorders. The treatment addresses the underlying shift in the circadian rhythm. These include phototherapy, chronotherapy, and melatonin administration. Chronotherapy is a behavioral therapy. Essentially, it is an artificial shifting of the sleep-wake cycle. Sleep and circadian disturbance are closely related with eating disorders. As seen in the diagram, the food intake is closely affected by the circadian rhythm and the sleep schedule. The food clock is regulated by the suprachiasmatic nucleus clock. In other words, the circadian rhythm. The connection between the two clocks is established through different hormones, coordinating food intake over 24 hours. Hence, disruption of this clock can result in disturbance in feeding-fasting cycle. The main hormones that regulate food consumption consist of glucocorticoids, ghrelin, glucagon, insulin, and leptin. Apart from glucagon and insulin, the secretion of these hormones heavily depends on the circadian rhythm. For this reason, light has a crucial role on the eating cycle. Ghrelin is the major hormone that is responsible for food stimulation. Ghrelin levels rises before and falls after a daytime meal and increases gradually overnight. Glucocorticoids include cortisol. This hormone is produced with the circadian rhythm and is increased when food intake is anticipated. Whereas glycerin stimulates food intake, leptin inhibits food anticipatory activities, resulting in decreased food intake. A recent study showed that patients with night eating syndrome has a phase delay in the timing of meals and delayed circadian rhythms for food intake. In addition, there were phase delays of 1 to 3 hours in leptin and insulin. As seen in the diagram, the delay in leptin and insulin secretion causes relatively high levels of leptin and insulin prior to breakfast. Hence, loss of appetite is observed in the morning. In contrast, circulating levels of ghrelin were phase advanced by 5 hours. So ghrelin secretion had moved to a much earlier time. For this reason, high levels of ghrelin during sleep may cause interrupted sleep, leading to insomnia. These high ghrelin levels also cause increased appetite at nighttime and thus night eating behavior. These findings strongly suggest that night eating syndrome may result from misfunction between suprachiasmatic nucleus timing mechanisms. Considering these results, chronobiological treatments for night eating syndrome, such as bright light therapy, may be useful. Indeed, bright light therapy has shown promising results in reducing night eating in case studies. Another disease that is closely related with light exposure and circadian rhythm is Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is an age-related neurodegenerative disease. This is the most common cause of dementia in older people worldwide. The currently accepted theory suggests that the cause is the aggregation and accumulation of amyloid beta and tau proteins in the brain. Increased oxidative stress and mitochondrial dysfunction have been identified as common part of Alzheimer's disease. As age progresses, melatonin production decreases, leading to increased levels of oxidative stress in elderly. Melatonin has a vital neuroprotective effect. It has multiple actions as a regulator of antioxidant and pro-oxidant enzymes. It prevents mitochondrial radical formation. As seen on the diagram, melatonin inhibits amyloid beta generation. More importantly, it also blocks the formation of amyloid fibrils. This reduces tau protein accumulation, possibly slowing down the prognosis of Alzheimer's. Phototherapy is a treatment that provides therapeutic effects through exposure to light that stimulates sunlight. It's also known as light therapy or bright light therapy. The treatment aims to reduce sleep deprivation for people with certain psychiatric disorders. Through phototherapy, the illusion that the noon had passed or will come is created. As a result, the circadian rhythm is shifted gradually to the desired cycle. Thus, the administration of time of phototherapy depends on the disorder. Phototherapy can be done at home with a light box placed at eye level. Keeping a 30 to 60 degree angle and 60 to 80 centimeter distance with the light source is recommended. The angle is necessary to reduce the glare and minimize the side effects. Depending on the type and severity of the disorders, 2,500 to 10,000 lux are administered. It's important also to be consistent with phototherapy to see positive results. Currently, white light consisting of full spectrum is used for phototherapy to imitate the daylight. The side effects of this treatment are mild and reversible. Headache, eye strain, blurred vision, photophobia, irritability, diarrhea, and nausea are sometimes reported. It's been known that light suppresses melatonin. However, the color of light is also significant. Blue light particularly suppresses melatonin and promotes wakefulness. In other words, the body's internal clock depends on strong shifts in blue spectrum light. High levels of evening blue light and low levels in the morning disrupt the circadian rhythm. The clock genes implicated in bipolar and other psychiatric disorders are also affected by the blue spectrum light. The same mechanisms works backwards as well. The research showed that psychiatric patients in general are more sensitive to the circadian disrupting effects of evening blue light, particularly patients with bipolar disorder. Melatonin is delayed, diminished, or more easily suppressed by the blue light in these patients. Another concrete evidence illustrated the effects of blue light is the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry's sleep recommendations. Their updated psychiatric sleep recommendations in 2018 no longer recommended night lights for anxious children. Instead, they emphasize elimination of blue light sources in the bedroom. It has been explained how important light is for both our mental and physical health, especially in recent years. We should not only organize our lives in accordance with the circadian rhythm, but also organize our artificial lighting in our living quarters, working and educational environments according to these principles. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for this wonderful explanation and presentation. Well, actually, yes, we design interiors, but we should be aware of all of these facts because we use spaces together with everybody. And I think, again, we will open this with questions at the end. Thanks a lot. And now I'd like to introduce you the fourth invited speaker of today, Dr. Hilmi Or, who is an eye surgeon. He has been working as an ophthalmologist in his private office in Istanbul since 1992, and now he's in Germany since 2019. In the first 13 years, he also worked in eye hospitals. He combines his knowledge on light, vision, visual perception, and their effects with eye physiology, eye diseases, art, photography, forensic medicine, and also lighting. And now the floor is yours with your speech, circadian rhythm, some less known and or unforeseen facts.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction also. I would like to tell you some different things. I have done some things in my life and I would like to combine the knowledge of it for you. I have no financial disclosures. If you look at the PubMed for the circadian rhythm, you have over 84,000 results since in the last 80 years, and you can see the graphics of it. In this last 60 years, the graphs looks like that on the right. And if you compare it with the innovation cycles in the world, the graphs seems to be similar. It means to me that the innovation in science change also the circadian rhythm research. So you can see in the last 90 years, it changed a lot. There come new techniques to measure, and it has been seen that's also responsible for health and diseases. And the periods of the endogenous circadian rhythm can be measured at the human body by melatonin, core body temperature, and cortisol secretion. So it was measured in healthy young and older individuals in carefully controlled lighting conditions, and the human circadian pacemaker was about a little bit more than 24 hours. And in circadian biological rhythm, there are three criteria which are important. The endogenous sphere running period is about 24 hours. It's entrainable. It means it can be resented by the exposition of external stimuli like light and heat, and temperature compensation is also available. Circadian periodicity over a range of physiological temperatures. So if it doesn't function, what I told you just before, you may have neurologic, psychiatric, metabolic, cardiovascular, allergic, immunologic disorders. It means this rhythm can do a lot to our health. And in circadian medicine, you can do a lot of things. You saw some of them by the speakers before me. Circadian lighting in hospitals, circadian chronotherapy, timing of the medications, and circadian pharmacology, drugs which affect the circadian rhythm, and you can use all of them. This is an example for them. In a room, if you change the color of the temperature of light, then you have other effects also on the circadian rhythm. The potential of the circadian-based intervention may improve or modify disease outcomes if you use, which is told already, bright light therapy, exogenous melatonin, or chronotherapy. In mammals, the light perception is only in the retina. There are three different types of photoreceptors, like cones, rods, and intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, which are very important also for the eye doctors like me, because we are only for the seeing there, and it was at the beginning not very easy to understand their function for us. Let's look at it. Is the retina, it's at the back of the eye, and this, the cross section. And here are the rods which with which we see in color. Here the cones, sorry, here are the rods which we see in black and white, and here you have the IPRGC. And they use, or there are many kinds of these cells, and they use all the melanopsin as the photopigment. And it's also important to know the normal cells are here for seeing light and for seeing the colors, but the melanopsin mediated intrinsic photosensitive ganglion cells, they are somewhere between. We don't see it, but our body feels it. So this reaction is extraordinarily slow, a phototransduction cascade, and through the biophysical mechanism, it changes the behavior. It has many functions, but I want to tell you just about the myopia, because in the world, the myopia is getting more and more. And the circadian rhythm and being in the sunlight reduces the myopia progression in a big way. I don't want to talk about much because there are some problematous studies also. There's also circadian rhythm, which is in the night, because in the last years we have the LEDs and there's a lot of blue in it. Also in the OLED and AMOLED, which we use as the on the cell phones. And in the night, normally the visible light synchronize human biological clock to solar 24-hour cycle. But the blue color, it means the short wavelengths, are the strongest synchronizing agent for our circadian system. So you may use some blue blocking spectacle lenses, for example, by night, to block this blue light in the night, and you may improve your sleep quality and so on. But there's a lack of high quality evidence for that. We don't know whether it functions. But it is shown when the college students use electronic screens before they go to bed, they have 1.82-fold poor academic performance than the ones who didn't in the last 60 minutes. So pre-bedtime using screens was significantly associated with the poor sleep quality. So the use of the electronic screen media before bedtime should be limited by the college students. Another thing is, you have if you are older, you get the yellow lenses, which are extracted to the cataract surgery, and this effect should regulate the circadian rhythm, and it was measured by many sleep quality indexes, and it was found out, yes, cataract surgery improved the regulation of circadian rhythms, but the clinical relevance is uncertain. So we already talked about it. There are many things which are regulated by the circadian rhythm, like body temperature, automatic innervation, glucocorticoids, and so on. And this is mostly done by the light which comes to the eye. What happens to the people which are blind? There's a non-24-hour sleep-wake rhythm disorder. It means it is an inability to entrain to the 24-hour environment. And in this, if you treat them in blind individuals, there's only timed melatonin successful. But in sighted individuals, there are multiple cues like light, melatonin, social interactions, feeding activity. It means if you don't have in the retina the other function growth and cones, the intrinsic photosensitive cells aren't enough to do the rhythm, circadian rhythm. So in blind patients, there's a late and advanced sleep phase disorders. And 50% of blind patients without light have this disorder. And it's very rare in the general population. If you look at the circadian rhythm, the melatonin secretion starts at 9 p.m. and ends at the 7:30 a.m. in this period. So we have our normal circadian rhythm. What happens if you have jet lag? It's after the flight, you probably all experience it. It's a misalignment of body's internal clock to the local time at your destination. It's flying across the 3 time zones or more. Let's look at the time zones. If you fly from Turkey to Germany, it's mostly on the 2-hour time zone, so you don't have much problems. To England, it's 3 hours. You may have some problems, but if you fly to America, to the east or west of it, so you have 6 to 9 hours, and that's a lot. You experience a lot of problems with the jet lag. To the other side, if you go to east, to Thailand, for example, you have similar problems. Jet lag recovery needs normally 1 day for each time zone crossed. It means a lot of time if you flow 6 time zones. Which direction of travel is worse for the jet lag? From east to west or from west to east? It's from west to east. Why? traveling to east shortens the days and traveling west lengthens them. So the circadian rhythm needs to do more to catch up. So if you go to the west for 9 hours time zone, you need 8 days, and if you fly to the east, you need for the 9 time zones about 13 days. So we can look like that. I did, probably you did also. So what can you do for that? There's a lot of effects what the jet lag does. You can do something against it, drink water, try light, manage sleep time, and so on. But what we mostly do is a caffeinated beverage, coffee. But in the last time, they use also melatonin. So then after that, we can have some much normal sleep rhythms. There are some about 61 publications about circadian response. It's important. What does the circadian rhythm in the eye and in the body? That's you see here. Foveola is the middle of the eye, some micrometers, and around it, how we see. And you can divide it into 2 zones where you see in the middle and beyond it. And they gave to the eye blue or green light. And you can do it to the middle or to the sides of it in both colors. So you see the effect is much more in both colors. If you are on the axis in the middle, in the fovea, if you go out of the axis, it's much less. And over time, it means it needs much more time if you are out of axis. It's also important to examine the peripolar areas. It's around the polar circles. There are very little people living here. Here are residents on the South Pole. There are no residents. They are come only for research to the Antarctica. Here's the Arctic, North Pole, and here's the South Pole of the world with the Antarctica. They are very important for research because total darkness is there over 6 months. And the circadian rhythm of the people process in constant conditions on them, 24 hours. And they are also relevant for polar observations to other regions. Why? The environment for optimizing intensity and spectral composition of ambient light. There's lack of bright natural light all the year. There are high latencies in winter with short photo periods, and in like interior workplace, you don't work a lot outside of the station. It's like in the station in cities, you have urban environments. In winter day lengths, they are shorter than the working day. It means you go to the work and the sun comes up, the sun goes down, and you go out of the building again. So you don't see the sun. It's like in the polar regions how you live. So what can be done for them? To go over the delay over the circadian system, you can use a photo period 2 times 1 hour bright white light mornings, and in the evening it can restore the summer timing, and you can have one single 1 hour pulse of light in the morning. It's enough to have a normal circadian rhythm again. It's also very important to know that's where the color sensitivity in the regulation of circadian rhythm. There's a color component sensory system. It means like blue and yellow, which are opponent. They have also non-image forming visual functions. And there's a study about it. And you can see that in change in the through the irradiance, through the and it change also through the relative power. You can have this effect of the circadian rhythm changing over the power. It's also important if the elevation of the sun changed, then it also changed the opponency index of the colors. So we see the colors in another way, and the circadian rhythms adapts to it. So when should we drink coffee? Best time is for gaps in the circadian rhythm, not when cortisol is released in the body, because at that time we are already waked up. So if you stand up at 7:30 a.m., the cortisol released in this time spans. You can see it, and you should go to the gaps in it. It means 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. or 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And what about the 5 o'clock tea? We should think about it. So the free running circadian period, we talked already about it during the late adolescence into adulthood. There are no sleep timing differences, even with the melatonin onsets. It's the same in these age groups. But if you got older, then the robustness of the circadian rhythm reduces. You have disturbed sleep-wake cycles. So aging has here some problems. And there's also, it's also interesting, there are some people who are morning or evening types on sleep timing and duration. And it's made with 50 paired samples of them, and there was no difference in the circadian process. Let's end up with the space. There's the International Space Station around the world, we know it, and they had older normal illumination devices. They wanted to go on 2016 to LEDs to enhance the illumination of the working and living environment of astronauts, to improve sleep, circadian entrainment, and daytime alerts. This was beginning for the space flight missions, because sleep characteristics and use of sleep promoting pharmaceuticals in astronauts before, during, and after space flight, because it may be months or years. So the journey to Mars, is it a dream? Maybe yes, but they work about it. The intrinsic Earth magnetic field, the geomagnetic field, is essential environmental condition for most living organisms to adapt to the solar cycle. It means to the circadian rhythm. But it's a hypermagnetic field in the Moon, Mars, and the outer space. So it differs from the normal magnetic field. It's a critical problem to astronauts during long-term interplanetary missions like to Mars. So they may have sleep disorders, metabolic diseases, and neurological diseases. So they examined it for exercise. If it changed this, the effects of long-term head-down tilt rest, it's done by the astronauts with and without exercise and vibration, and look for the effects on the circadian rhythm of core body temperature. Very interesting results. If you don't do anything, you have a change in phase more than half an hour. But if you do exercise and have vibration to it, you have a correction half an hour in the other direction. It means you can deal with it, and you can use it also for the patients with we have problem because they are long-term bedridden. Yes, so it looks, if we work more, all scientists work, the human expeditions to Mars can be done. There on Mars, the day-night cycle is only a little bit more than on the Earth. So our systems may adapt to it, and maybe in the next years we can do our sessions on Mars. Yes, it's a problem if the biological clock is running too fast. We shouldn't do it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you also for the nice presentation. So I think you will have questions about how to drink coffee, when to drink coffee, and it was interesting also to point it out. And more than that, yes, we know especially some professionals are under a risk group, but I think didn't come across with the discussions about astronauts. Maybe we will open it again in the question and answer session. So thank you very much, Hilmi Or. And now we come to the last speaker of today. I'd like to introduce you Dr. Elio Kim. He's the head of lighting sales and marketing at Samsung Electronics LED division. He has 25 years of industry experience and expertise in semiconductor and photonics, including his recent role in high-effective LED product development. And we are happy that we welcome you again, just like last year's, but you were present at another international event of Turkish National Committee last year. Today, now he will give us a speech on light up the brilliance in your kids at school. And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for our introduction. My name is Elio Kim. I'm actually defying my natural circadian rhythm at this time. It's nearing midnight here in Korea, but I'm so glad that I have this opportunity to share our findings and our opinions on the usage of circadian lighting for education space. So let me begin. Regardless of wherever you are, we are facing a lot of challenges for our children and kids. They are so very much obsessed with the academic performance because the students as well as the parents believe that the academic success is a key factor for their future success in career. So the pressure is immense. Wherever you go, it's pretty much the same all over the world. And there's an interesting finding from the research from Salford University in UK. They researched on a lot of environment factors that affect students' performance at school. There are also other factors like temperature, air quality, or color, etc. Interesting thing was that the lighting condition was the most important factor that affected the students' performance at school. So we had this idea about, there could be something that we could probably do for our children to study better at school and relax better at home. And eventually they learn better and become a healthy and knowledgeable people that who are participating in the society in many different ways in the future. I'm going to start with the energizing lighting solutions. According to a study by a Pharmaceutical Association for a Healthy Society in Korea, Korean adolescents consumes a lot of caffeinated drink, mainly because they wanna, ward off the sleepiness during study hours, and in order to relieve fatigue. And those kind of things drive them to drink more and more caffeinated drinks. Maybe they are not drink coffee. However, there are a lot of energy, so-called energy drink, and they drink it like a soda or like a juice. And everybody knows that caffeine is not good for adolescent health. So there should be something that we should do from the standpoint of lighting industry, and the circadian lighting is one of the most important thing that we should bring to the educational space. there are a lot of research reports from academia as well as government agencies where they studied on the circadian effects, or more specifically, the light effects that affect people's cognitive skills and concentration. The answer is very simple. You use very bright and cool color temperature light for the workspace or the classrooms. Then you get the results. Their focus at the class becomes much better. Their scores at tests become better, and their work performance become better. But what's the problem? The problem here is that they all used some kind of extreme conditions, very bright, very cool color temperature lighting in order to get this effect out of the environment. So it's almost like always 6,500 Kelvin, as bright as like 1,000 lux. Well, it's gonna be very bright and easy to work kind of environment. However, if you stay long time in that kind of environment, your eyes get easily fatigued. And more importantly, the lighting designers, the lighting industry is not using 6,500 Kelvin, 1,000 lux bright light everywhere. It's very unexceptional, very exceptional. Therefore, we had to bring something than just like a coolest color temperature or brightest light. So how about this? These two photos on the left-hand side and the right-hand side are the room condition with the same 5,000 Kelvin, 500 lux lighting condition. And do you see any difference? Well, actually, there is some difference. Here you go. I don't really reiterate the importance of the cyan portion of the light that affect the human circadian system. But the trick here is that even though we have the same brightness and the color temperature, the detailed spectrum of these two different lighting settings can be different, especially around the blue portion of the light spectrum. So on the left-hand side, you see that there's a, a blue peak, shorter wave blue peak at around 450 nanometer, and the secondary blue peak around 480 nanometer. Whereas on the right-hand side, you see a very conventional white LED spectrum, in which you see a trough around the cyan region centered around 480 nanometer. So the left-hand side spectrum is kind of new, whereas the other one on the right-hand side is very conventional. So the difference is that we could somehow fine-tune the light spectra in a way that we can boost up light energy around the cyan region of the light spectrum. And by doing so, what should we get? So other speakers already introduced the mechanism of the circadian lighting in detail, so I don't need to do that introduction again, but that's the spectrum where the melanopic sensitivity is very high. So by adding more light power around that cyan region, we can increase the light effects of melatonin suppression, especially during daytime. And the LED that we built for this performs at about 20% higher melanopic DER level compared to the same color temperature conventional white LED. So what can we do with this? So in order to verify the benefit of the cyan enriched energizing lighting, we put some of the people, like 30 people, into a lighting experience room that I showed a moment ago. And the whole test lasted almost a year. So we had those subjects go into that room for 3 days and 2 nights on a single lighting condition, whether it's going to be like a human-centric lighting or conventional lighting. And they go back home and spend a week outside and come back to the light experience room again. And then they do the second round with the other type of lighting. However, in doing so, they are not notified which lighting condition they experience first and which one second. And during the daytime, we put them on the energizing lighting condition, and then we observed that even during daytime, their melatonin level was suppressed further down by 18% compared to the lighting condition of the conventional white LED of the same brightness and same color temperature. And for their performance enhancement, we put them on the standardized D2 concentration level test. And on the average, they got 3% higher score when they were under the energizing lighting setting compared to the conventional lighting. And on top of that, we put them on the Sudoku puzzle test one more time. And surprisingly, they now got 10% higher score under the energizing lighting. 3% difference in D2 test might look very minor, but if you convert it to, for example, the score of students at the university college entrance exam, I mean, it's not a negligible difference. However, in order to bring the new type of LED device into reality, we had to optimize the whole different aspects of the device to be acceptable by the industry. So we look at, first of all, the melanopic DER, which is kind of equivalent to melanopic photopic ratio. So we had to improve this melanopic DER as much as possible in order to bring the circadian effects with the new lighting. And in doing so, we shouldn't sacrifice the efficacy too much. And also, we have to take care of the lifetime of the device. We have to think about the color quality in terms of color rendering index. And also, we have to also think about the eye safety level. And in this case, actually, we are making a safer device for human eyes because we are making use of longer wavelengths, lower energy blue, more than the shorter wavelengths, high energy blue. So mostly these new devices are optimized for all these 5 different metrics. So well-balanced device that is to be adopted by industry without much hesitation. And when it comes to the lighting installation specifications, there's something that I can give you as an example. So international well building standard is dictating that they can give like 3 points for lighting threshold of 218 melanopic EDI or more for a desirable daytime lighting condition. So what does that mean? They measure the melanopic EDI at the vertical vertical surface, virtual surface, which is kind of matching with your eye level when you are sitting down in front of the desk. So it's been measured on the vertical plane instead of the work surface or the desktop surface. So we should be always keeping this in mind when we talk about the lighting condition. Here are some examples. So we offer the energizing lighting solution from all the way from 3000 Kelvin warm white all the way to 6500 Kelvin, the coolest white CCT. And in the middle, there are like some comfort zone, like a 3,500, 4,000 Kelvin or 5,000 Kelvin, which is quite popular for general lighting settings. And on the right-hand side, we have a analysis for the melanopic EDI level as a function of photopic lux. So we look at the graph 4,000 Kelvin and 5,000 Kelvin. We can easily see that the blue bars here are exceeding the minimal recommended level of 218 melanopic EDI at the vertical illuminance of 300, 350, and 400 lux. Actually, at 300 lux, the work surface illuminance is usually about like a 500 lux. 500 lux is most preferable light illuminance for desk or work areas. 500 or 600 lux is quite adequate. And over that, it's still okay. But if you look into like 5,000 Kelvin, you can achieve this level more easily at the lower vertical illuminance level of 250 lux and 300 lux. And if you compare this with the gray bars here, you see that you have to increase the actual photopic illuminance to the level, for example, up to like 400 lux in order to exceed the well-building standard 218 lux melanopic EDI at 4,000 Kelvin. And 400 lux is about like 800 lux on your work surface. And that is quite bright, quite bright. You don't have to do that in order to achieve that melanopic EDI of 218 lux when you use the energizing lighting solution given by the LM302N day device. So by making use of this new device, the lighting designers have much wider design space in the illuminance and the color temperature. So that's going to be something that we might need to bring to the education space in the near future. And I'm going to move on to the relaxing lighting solution. As other speakers has emphasized, relaxing lighting is also a very important factor of the general lighting. They don't probably need to use this type of lighting at classrooms, but I mean, if you think about adolescents or children, their eyes have very clear lenses. They're very sensitive to blue light exposure. So their circadian system is more easily disturbed by the nighttime blue light exposure. And they don't well maintain their circadian system by being exposed to strong blue light at night. And how do we avoid this situation? Before we move on to the solution, I'm going to give you two more examples of previous studies. One from the Vitter group, published in Current Biology in 2012. They analyzed the BMI, the obesity, the degree of obesity to social jet lag. And social jet lag here means is kind of a time difference between work days and weekends, weekdays and weekends, when they go to bed. So larger social jet lag means that you have more irregular life cycle. During the weekdays, you go to bed early and get up early, whereas you go to bed late, much later when you have weekend hours and you have like have fun with friends and families, things like that. So bigger social jet lag actually doesn't really correlate well about overweightness to some extent, as you see in the chart. However, if you look at people with obesity, not just slight overweightness, but obesity, you see clearly there's a correlation with the social jet lag and obesity. And we can conjecture that there's quite a high correlation between this, life cycle, irregular life cycle, and the health condition of people. What about the, academic performance? There's a study from Zerbini's group in Netherlands. They analyzed the chronotype versus their academic performance in different subject areas. Interestingly enough, the night owl type of students actually had worse score at subjects like biology, chemistry, and mathematics. History had a little less correlation with that, but common sense tells that if you are really, really hardworking students, you might like to study very late, over midnight, study hard, and then you get better score at exams, right? But the common prejudice doesn't hold here. The study actually doesn't, give us the details of the activities of the students at late night, but I think the general wisdom holds here. If you really stay late often at night, I mean, you know that, there's a mechanism that, human short-term memory becomes consolidated into long-term memory by the, deep sleep cycle. And you have to have enough number of deep sleep cycles during, nighttime when you're sleeping. And if you lose your proper sleep time, you don't have that chance, and it's likely that you get worse in the academic performance. And that suggests a very important fact that our students, our kids, should have very well, rested, quality nighttime, good sleep, in order to perform better at school. How do we do that? So just like the opposite case of the energizing lighting solution, we could somehow deplete the light spectrum, light power around the cyan region of the spectrum by formulating a new phosphor. And then we could create the device that we call LM302 at night. And that actually stabilize the circadian rhythm during nighttime by avoiding unnecessary suppression of melatonin during nighttime. And on average, this device has about 20% lower melanopic DER than conventional white LEDs across the CCT range. So the benefit of the new type of device is obvious here. On the left-hand side, you see that the subjects who spent time under the LM302 at night device exhibited, on the average, 5% higher melatonin secretion across the time average from evening to 3 a.m. And the peak level is also much higher compared to the case when they spend time under conventional lighting. And they were allowed to sleep from 3 a.m. to 7 in the morning. And then in order to, get their melatonin level, actually on the right-hand side, we curve fit the melatonin data. However, in order to make sure that this curve fit is valid, we also measure their electrocardiogram and measure their RR interval. It's like their heartbeat. And peak position of melatonin secretion and the maximum RR interval actually coincided very well. So that gives us an idea that this melatonin curve fit data is quite valid. And if we look into the detail of this curve, we can find out the position of the 25% height level that we define as DLMO, dim light melatonin onset. And this thermal level is interpreted as the phase change position in time from the wakefulness to the sleepiness. So this is the time when you get actually sleepy. And the thermal timing was by 52 minutes earlier when the subjects were under the LM302 at night light condition compared to the conventional warm white light condition of the same color temperature and same illuminance. And imagine that you're a person suffering from insomnia or other type of sleep disorder. I mean, you do everything. You do exercise a lot during daytime, and you might try to, take sleeping pill and take some hormone pills as well in order to regulate your day-night rhythm, but without really necessarily having to take the pills. By just changing the light condition in your home, you could get a huge benefit, huge help of maintaining your circadian rhythm in a much more regular way. And that's also a great benefit that we could somehow bring to our children as well. And also we looked at the figures of merit of general lighting in terms of melanopic DER, efficacy, lifetime, CRI, and eye safety. And I would say that this new device also satisfied all these different 5 metrics. And so we can probably say that we can use this device into the general lighting industry in real life condition without much difficulty. When it comes to the lighting installation guideline, I don't see many such industry, consensus about that. But I could bring this example from the second international workshop on circadian and neurophysiological photometry for sleep, evening and indoor daytime environment, where those scholars actually recommended melanopic EDI not higher than 10 lux for evening light and not higher than 1 lux for sleeping hours. Actually, you don't need any light for sleeping hours, but at least you need a certain amount of light to do something during evening time, for example, to read books, for example. So 10 lux melanopic EDI might look too dim to do anything, but it's not the case actually. I'll show you some more analysis on this. So in case of our relaxing lighting solution, excuse me, we offer the LED devices from 1800 Kelvin to 4000 Kelvin. And because we are talking about the evening and nighttime lighting, let's look at some warm white condition, 2200 Kelvin and 2700 Kelvin. 2700 Kelvin is, by the way, like a standard bulb color. And 22 is more like, a little, amber-like lighting condition. So if you don't like too, yellowy amber-like lighting, you might just look at 2700 Kelvin and see if you can still meet the less than 10 melanopic EDI lux condition at what photopic illuminance level. So for example, by making use of LM302 at night, you can meet the maximum 10 melanopic EDI lux level with 30 lux of photopic illuminance. And this is also about the eye level vertical illuminance. Therefore, it represents a lighting condition on your work surface or desk surface of about 50 lux. 50, maybe a little dim, but pretty good enough to read books. I maintain like this amount of light condition at home, so I know it works. But problem is that at that same vertical illuminance of 30 lux, the melanopic EDI from conventional warm white LED exceeds the level of 10 lux melanopic EDI easily. And again, this tells that by making use of this specially tuned light spectrum, you can have very widened design space without suffering much from violating the guidelines for evening and daytime lighting, evening and nighttime lighting. And you can still maintain a certain level of brightness to do something. And this is something that we might install at home or install at some rest areas for school to have our children spend quality time for their relaxing hours. So overall, we talked about the energizing lighting for classrooms, and we also talked about the relaxing lighting for resting areas and home and evening and nighttime. We talked about the importance of the concentration at daytime and importance of not disturbing circadian rhythm at nighttime to make the kids perform better at school the next day and the next day and for the rest of their school years and for their future. So thank you very much for your attention. I think we're done.
Also, we'd like to thank you for this marvelous presentation. As this topic can be discussed at an interdisciplinary area from professions, surely the final case is adapting it or including technology and recent research and making our lives better and to be much more healthier. So I think as being the last presenter, you pointed this out very well with that recent research, especially at the two tests of attention, how we can improve the learning environments as well as the living environments at our residences as well. So thank you very much, Elio. Now it's time for us to ask questions, to make contributions to each other. So I'd like to ask, is there anybody who want to ask questions? Now I have a message that is sent to me directly. Orlin Petro asks, do we have an access to the presentations or the recording of the meeting? Yeah, actually we will have in our YouTube channel, Turkish National Committee on Illumination. We have a YouTube channel, and very short after these presentations, you can follow us from that YouTube channel. We will organize it with my friend, colleague Berker Yurtseven. So please be in contact with us. Okay, and he shared YouTube channel link with you as well. You're welcome, Orlin. Any other things you want to share, you want to ask? Or our distinguished guests, presenters, would you like to add anything that you want to say? Maybe you can make contributions to each other as well. I'm also checking the hands if there's anybody who wanted to ask anything. No? Maybe we can talk a little bit about phototherapy a little bit. Maybe I can ask Nasibe Ünsalan, I mean, the effects of blue light, for example, can it be used? How can it be used?
Phototherapy we use in today in clinics with full bright light spectrum. But there is recent studies that they use only blue wavelength. And it shows that in the studies we've seen that there is less, how can I say it? You have less blurred vision and less side effects. So maybe only also giving less illuminations could be affected, but the studies are still going on with this. And we still use white light full spectrum.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions and or contributions? Again, I'm checking the chat box as well as the participants. Again, I wonder something, maybe I can ask this time to Elio, that is this. Now, when we try to make a lighting design, for example, at residences, we surely calculate all the optimization from programs by using Dialux, for example, and then go back to Design Builder for the optimization, so on and so forth. But it's better to add, of course, melanopic ratio in it. So how can you sum it up for being the optimization? Because as far as you underlined, when we try to make the best condition, we also sometimes have to use lamps from different spectrum, maybe a cooler lamp, and or maybe we have to increase the amount of light level, that is, we consume more energy there. So how can you say something about the energy efficiency point related to this?
That's a good question. Actually, I get that kind of challenge from my customers, and I have to, show them the simple math. As of today, our gain in the melanopic DER of our spectrum, new spectrum, for example, for daytime lighting LED, is about 20 to 22%. So you can actually decrease the brightness of the lighting by that amount while you're just maintaining the circadian impact at the same level. That tells you that there's about that amount of light energy saving. However, I mean, naturally, by formulating that spectrum, we lose some light efficacy as well. That's at this moment about 15%. So the gain is only about 5 to 7%. But gain is gain, so it's not worse. It's better, but a little slightly better. So the key technology that we should moving forward to is that we should improve the quantum efficiency of the cyan emitting diode. I talked to you about like a 480 nanometer a secondary blue peak, and that blue peak is coming from the indium gallium nitride LED chip, and that LED chip is based on the multiple quantum layers where we use like an indium contents to reduce the energy of the band gap, and that gives us longer wavelengths blue. And by increasing the indium ratio, we lose the light efficacy to some extent. And that's the technological barrier that we have to overcome in the years to come. And that'll give us much higher and higher efficacy of the human-centric lighting LED, and that'll eventually improve the gain over 7% to like a 10% and 15%, eventually like a 20%. And by that time, we won't have any problem, satisfying both the melanopic DER as well as the light efficacy.
Okay, thank you. I have a question in my chat box directly sent to me. It is to Bülent Hocam. Well, they wonder about the road lighting in Turkey. Is it all right, they ask, 4,000 Kelvin? Is it right? Or what is the effect to the flora and fauna? Does it have any effect, positive, not negative? They ask about it.
Okay, so I have no information about the studies done on the road reflection of the light on the ecological standpoint, but our roads are mostly asphalt. So the measure point of the living things I'm not aware of. So I don't know what the light intensity on the roads. I haven't measured that.
All right. Now, a question to Soyhan Hocam about, they're wondering about the right time duration for injection.
Sorry, again, the question for injection, which injection?
Aşı.
Which injection? It is in last years there is more studies about medication, chronopharmacology, but this injection is not only an injection. There is different mechanisms and different target cells in our body. And there is some studies, especially in older, for example, about the vaccine for influenza. And the studies show that, for example, vaccine in adults in afternoon has more antibody answer. But we cannot generate for all vaccines, for example, in children and other babies or other age groups. And we need more studies, but we know that our immune system has circadian rhythms. And we should decide first for a medication or vaccine or target cells, target immune cells. And I think that we can give more information in next 10 years because the researcher has no study about different vaccines, different medication. And actually we have more studies about chemotherapy against cancer, for example, or medication for asthma therapy. The studies show that there is a clear difference between the application time and effect of asthma medications. And it is interesting team, interesting field in this team, and we need more pharmacologists in this field for chronomedication and or circadian rhythm research. But Bülent Hocam can more explain the functions of receptor in our body. I think it is not only a vaccine or an injection, but there is different factors which can play a critical role during the medication, during the therapy. For example, the time of day and artificial lighting system in hospital, artificial lighting system in at home, or life art of patients. Therefore, I can say that it's not easy to develop plan for therapy of vaccination in everybody. And we need more scenario according to age of patients, according to life art of patient, according to home of patient, artificial lighting at home, it is but we hope that the firms such as Samsung and other firms can develop more technology and more application to improve the using the such therapies or such components in our life. And we are at the beginning of circadian lighting system or biodynamic lighting system, and we have a long road. I should say we have a long road in scientific area, in technological area.
Okay, thank you. Bülent Hocam, as Soyhan Bey said that maybe Bülent Hocam want to say something.
Yeah, I would like to add, yes.
Yeah.
I would like to share some of my thoughts on this. Whatever we take to the body as a drug, the drugs or the hormones, whatever we take, the chemicals, neurotransmitter, must coincide with the receptors. So in the circadian rhythm physiology or whatever chronobiology, the activity of the receptor is very obstacle area. We have to do many research. And as long as I read all the papers on the melatonin research, we share this information with the Soyhan all the time. We are fighting on that. The people are giving the melatonin hormone, for example, during the daytime. So this is very important for me. Who am I studying on the animal, photoperiodic animals, especially because naturally the melatonin hormone produced during daytime but released during the nighttime. So if the melatonin hormone stays on the blood during the nighttime, that means it has to affect the receptors or directly enter to the cell membrane into the cell. Therefore, giving the injection or as a drug, the melatonin and other hormones must coincide with the receptors. So we have to explain, first of all, the function of the receptor. This could be the receptor for growth hormone. This could be for the thyroid hormones. This could be for the cortisol hormone. And sometimes you have to look to the glucose, for example. So the glucose also has the rhythm. So we are just exploring the mechanism, the relationship between the melatonin and the glucose. I'm mentioning the glucose because think about the plants. The plants use glucose mostly. And the glucose is very rhythmic molecule in the plants. So the time of the injection or the time of taking the drugs during the daytime is extremely important. And as far as I read the paper about the shots giving like COVID-19, some researchers are recommending taking those drugs during the late afternoon, because they think that they initiate the leukocytes to fight with the microbes. It's very strange. So this area should be more, we have to concentrate more this area. And as I'm seeing that doctors are recommend that take this medicine 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. And why? But we don't know whether the same drug is effective in the morning and the same drug has effect late afternoon, evening. That's why most of the drugs are not effective in curing the diseases.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Banu, these informations are very, very important. And we should realize that circadian rhythm means not only melatonin, and human-centric lighting cannot means that that we should use human-centric lighting system at home in the evening or the color etc. We need clearer definition. Kim demonstrate the difference according to the learning fields, and we cannot install only human-centric lighting system at school, and we cannot use only human-centric lighting without any recommendation, without any target groups. And it is the same for hospitals, for clinics, on which patients, which target groups, which therapy, and we need a circadian system with melatonin, without melatonin. That means any system, any cell, any target cell which be activated with melatonin, without melatonin. Therefore, we cannot only use melatonin. We should clearly in circadian lighting system according to target groups, and in every clinic, in every field, we need more studies to understand which system may be better for patient or for children, for all the patients groups.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Now, at this point, I want to ask Hilmi Or about the blind people as being a focus group. I mean, his point of view about this discussion, I want to learn it. And also you said there something about the circadian system of the blind people. Can you say a few more words about it as an extension of this discussion and plus my question? Is there any problem with the connection? I think yes.
I may answer the question from my point of view.
Yeah, please.
Not from the eyes, but the blind people they are struggling with seeing the light and the signals from the environment. But the most effective one is the melatonin. The melatonin normally has the inhibitory effect on the gonadotropin releasing hormone, which initiates the puberty at certain times. Gonadotropin releasing hormone stimulates the FSH and LH, and this causes the puberty. But the blind people has too much of melatonin in their blood. So melatonin postpones their puberty reaching on the right time. That's
Thank
all
you.
I can say.
Okay, thank you. Now I think Hilmi Bey is with us again. Would you like to make any other contributions? Can you open your voice? The microphone is closed, I think. No? I think it's all right.
Okay, now it's open.
Yeah.
The problem for the ophthalmologist was for the intrinsic photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. That was the reason why I showed you the cross-section of the retina. Normally, if a person is blind, first case, the rod and cones are dead. The second thing, they are not dead, they are functioning, but the second and third neurons which connect to the brain, they are damaged. So we thought always, if they don't function, that other cells in the retina wouldn't function also. The thing is, there are many, I told you 50% have problems with their circadian rhythm, blind people, but the other 50% doesn't have it. It means the rod and cones and the intrinsic cells, they are different kind of cells. They are so they might be alive and function properly, even though the rest of the retina has died already. And this is the problem for the ophthalmologists, because we don't, if they are already blind, clinically we cannot do it for them. We just see them every 6 months or 1 year, but more we cannot do this. It's very interesting with the cells. They are alive. We should do as ophthalmologists our best that these cells, the intrinsic photosensitive retinal, should function still after the people became. Then we do a lot of therapies in the retina. We do laser therapy in the retina. It means we kill the retina, we kill the cells there, we burn them out, and in the not only the rod and cones, but also the intrinsic cells. So there's a controversy, but the ophthalmologists all over the world are becoming slowly aware of the cells and of their effects, but it's coming slowly because for us, for ophthalmologists, this cells has no clinical efficiency for seeing. But they are there, and they are very important for the rest of the body. So in the next years, I suppose there will be a lot of research about it, how to combine the ophthalmology with the circadian rhythm.
Okay, thank you. Ixiabo Yuang, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, has a question to Elio, asking, what's the difference between well building and MEDI? M-A-L and MEDI.
Well, well-building standard is an organization which governs a lot of environmental parameters for buildings. They are not only specializing in the lighting, but also all the other aspects of buildings. So they are not like a organization specializing in lighting only. But MEDI, melanopic, MEDI is melanopic equivalent daylight illuminance. I'm sorry. It's an abbreviation of a metric that measures how effective a light illuminance is for suppressing human circadian system. And that melanopic EDI, MEDI, has been created by a workshop governed by CIE. And you know, this Turkish committee is also a member of CIE, right? So it's a kind of international standard metric. So I'm not gonna go into the details of melanopic EDI because it involves some math, which is hard to just verbally explain. So you might like to just Google it. There are a lot of documents that tells about the definition of melanopic EDI, but I can tell you that it's similar to melanopic illuminance. And in other words, melanopic EDI is how efficient a light illuminance is compared to D65 standard light source of the same illuminance. D65 light source is what mimics the sunlight during daytime, you know, during about noon time. So very bright sunlight. So did I explain it enough?
I think it's all right. Thank you. And Zeynep Akkaya has a question asking how industry is involved with this subject. What do you think?
Well, actually, it's really happening now. I have a couple of projects going on in Europe about the circadian lighting installation. And also I have, well, before even talking about the cases in Europe, we have been shipping our day LED and night LED in domestic markets from a couple of years ago. And there are some lighting companies and furniture companies that are making use of LM302 and day for their lighting products in Korea. And we are also shipping the products to China as well. And I was actually very curious when I first heard of our reps selling some of those products to China. So I was asking, what is the application? And they would tell me that, hey, it's Chinese battleship, Navy. It was Chinese battleship. And I would guess that, okay, maybe the battleship crew, some of those guys are spending so much time in the cabin or in the area where they don't get really sunlight during daytime. Well, so probably they wanna make their soldiers healthier, their Navy crew healthier. So I would tell my American colleagues, hey guys, listen, Chinese Navy is gonna be healthier. So you guys, US Navy, you guys should be also healthier. Why don't you adopt, you know, Samsung circadian lighting for your Navy? So I joked like that. So there are also some projects going on in North America. And more interestingly, I am working on a new study with a university in the US where the professor is now going to research on the lighting effects on high school students' academic performance. So it'll be a kind of a field study. And we will perform that study from this fall semester onward. So we are like teaming up with a lighting company in the North America who is gonna help us to install our LEDs into their fixture, and they're installing their fixtures to the high school, and we'll involve like a professor of education and a professor of psychology together to, you know, formulate the study, and we'll see how the students, on-task behavior as well as their test exam scores kind of evolve over time by spending time under special lighting and under normal lighting. So we are performing those kind of comparison tests. And as the evidence accumulates over time, I think the industry is going to eventually moving onto that direction more seriously. So I think it's coming. It may be slow, but it doesn't have to be too quick, because electrical lighting has been there for over 140 years since the invention of the light bulbs. And it's been improving little by little over that long period of time. We don't have to be very hasty, and we just accumulate the evidences and spread this knowledge into general public, and eventually general public will know the importance of the circadian lighting, and it's kind of there's going to be a kind of synergy between industry and general public that actually moves the money into that direction. So it'll come, I believe.
Okay, thank you for everyone for the nice presentations and contributions, and also to all of the participants. I think now we came to the end. Now, on behalf of today, actually, we'd like to present you your certificates. I think Sermin Hocam will present those digital certificates to you digitally. We care about carbon dioxide emission, all of the things. So now we turned this digitalization, by the way. So I think for the last minutes, for the closing session, now the floor is yours, Sermin Hocam, and thank you for everybody again.
Thank you, especially for our guest, distinguished speakers. It was really nice, and I am very full of many different information, knowledge, and from the different side of the science, and it was very nice. And I would like to thank our distinguished participations for presenting their different and very valuable information. And now, Banu Hocam said that, and especially Banu, I would like also thanks for your moderating this webinar. It was really nice. Thank you very much. And I think we have already celebrated the Day of Light. It's very nice. And now, Bülent Hocam, we would like many thanks for your contribution, and we are very pleasure to meet you and to know you, and we would like to have a cooperation, sustainability, and in the future. And also we are inviting you to be a member of our Turkish National Committee. And thank you very much. It's for you for a certificate and recognition of your presentation, and to memorize of this day. Thank you very much, Bülent Hocam.
I thank you very much for inviting me, and now I am taking my certificate virtual.
This is for you. Thank you very much. We are get used to this kind of atmosphere and online events, but I hope we can have an opportunity to have a physical meeting, and as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
I hope.
And the second one, it's Soyhan Hocam. It's really, again, it is the second time to host you, and by really both of them was very nice, and we would like to listen to you many times. Of course, please continue your research, and we need the results of your research. And again, thank you for your contribution, and thank you for your effort, and especially to give your time for us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
This is for your certificate. Please take it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Şen Hocam and Banu, for this invitation. I am very happy to opportunity to present the more medical things for you, and I'm very happy at the opportunity to together the work, the medicine and engineer in this field. I hope that we can make more studies in Turkey with Bülent Hocam, and Hilmi Hocam is in Germany.
Yeah.
We are together in Germany, and I will be with this committee present again in next webinar or next Congress. I hope that we can have a possibility to make this symposium live in Istanbul, and next time in the future.
Of course, it will be a very pleasure for us. Also, our invitation also for you to be a member of our national committee. Our secretary Mehmet will contact with you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Nasibe, it was really nice. And yeah, I know that you are a little bit exciting about your discipline, and but now I think everybody agree with me. It was a really nice harmonization, your knowledge, and of course it's a vision. Your vision is very important for this kind of research. Thank you very much for your participation, and also, of course, your effort. Also, the certificate is for you. Please take it.
I want to also thank you for being here and with you. And also I want to thank to the community and also the speakers and the participants. It was really great and exciting webinar for me. I can say that, and also I want to thank you again for all of us.
Yes, of course, it's also inviting for you to be a member, but also you are daughter-in-law for us, no problem. you are in our family. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for it. Okay, Hilmi, it's where is the Hilmi Or? There is any Banu Hocam, I think there is any connection problem.
He has yes, an internet connection problem, but now I think he is with us.
I'm online now. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's a really nice contribution again. It's very nice. Always I'm enjoy, and I am very glad to be together with you in the same atmosphere. And it was really please because Hilmi is a member of Turkish National Committee many years. How many years? I don't have. I cannot remember. Sorry, Hilmi.
I think 8 years or something like that.
Yes. Thank you very much for your contribution and participation. It was valuable information, different kind of vision. It's very grateful for us. This is also a certificate for you. Again, sorry for your online. It's by electronic one. Please take it, and
I take it.
Continue to be together with us.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure and an honor for me to be with the committee again, and I'm proud to be a member of the committee and to be with you. And as I see every year, every time, every day, the committee is getting bigger and wealthier, and I'm glad of it, and it's an honor to be a member of it. I just say to all the committee, just go on this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your nice words, and it's of course it's a modification for our and also for young people. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Together. And Elio,
Yes.
thank you very much. And we are very pleased to be together again. It is the second time again. It's really we are following of your research and also your products, and it's really because from the industry side, it's very important to have this kind of cooperation and this kind of background. It's very important for us. Thank you very much. I'm very glad and a pleasure to know of you. Thank you very much. And also, I would like to present this, sorry for the electronic one, but I think it's a midnight at Korea. How about your melatonin level? I don't have any idea, but it's for,
okay.
it's for, and thanks, many thanks for your contribution, for your effort, and valuable information and good presentation. Thank you very much.
I'm very honored to be a speaker here, and I didn't expect this certificate, beautiful certificate. So I thank you so much.
It's a surprise. So maybe third one we can have a different kind of surprise. Please continue to be together with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for saying that.
Thank you. Thank you. And now, Banu Hocam, this is the end, of course. Yes, we would like also yes to finish our webinar again.